With technology and humanity, we can go further together. Vodacom.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, conductors, choristers, and the soloists. I believe that soloists are also invited here because it is very important for this workshop for them to be here. The reason I'm saying this, it's because in most cases, teen conductors, we tend to leave them behind and focus on the mixed voices, that is SATB, the big choirs, which becomes a challenge to our soloists because Mama Bodwa on stage. Now, I've been invited by the BOM and CoSACSA to facilitate this workshop. It's not a one-on-one thing. It's not about me, but it's about us. That means me, myself, and you guys, so that we can share the knowledge that we have. The legal that I'm going to share with you is gonna assist, I believe, for you. You can become better musicians, and nani, you can teach me something. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tamsang Ngqokwana, as you know, from the University of Fort Hare. I'm currently the lecturer there of eVoice and the deputy HOD of the music department. Now, we are dealing with the repertoire here prescribed from various eras. When I'm saying eras, I'm talking about the Western music when it comes to history. Then the eras such as Baroque era, classical era, as well as a Romantic era. For an example, the Western piece that is being prescribed, which is composed by George Frederick Handel from his work Jephthah, is from the Baroque era that we know. Handel, that was a Baroque era composer, though it was composed at the tail end of the era and at the beginning of the classical era, which means there are very important things that one needs to note when it comes to that piece. There might be some classical era influences as well as, of course, the Baroque era characteristics that you may find there. Now we're going to look at the soloists first. The reason that I'm focusing on the soloists, because we workshops, we tend to forget them liphele ixesha singakhange sasijonga i-soloists. The reason is because these soloists, these songs that are prescribed for soloists, you'll find out ukuthi language is foreign to them. For an example, we have 4 pieces for soprano, for mezzo-soprano, for tenor, and for baritone. All those 4 songs, they are Italian composed. That means they are composed in an Italian language. Siyayazi bangabi Italian, akunothi kuthi nabanye kunzima kwa ukuthetha ezinye languages ezizalapha eSouth Africa. How much more kwi-Italian language? So that is why I want us to look at them. I'm going to summarize them by saying, 1, they are from 2 eras. As I spoke about the eras, the classical era as well as the romantic era. So there's not even a single one from the Baroque era. However, Ugluk, which is the mezzo-soprano, which is from the opera L'Innocenza Giustificata, which means a justified innocence. So that one, Ugluk, is the composer who took the baton from the Baroque era composers. Hence, he is known as the composer who was more on reforming opera, because he felt that the old style of the opera seria was a bit boring during the Baroque era. Then he wanted to introduce something that is saying, let's forget about the instrument, the too much of instrument in their areas, in his areas. Then he decided to put more of a voice. That is why for the soloist that is going to sing the mezzo-soprano, he needs to have a beautiful voice. As a result, the aria on its own, which is titled A Rivolgi or Casta Diva, that means, please save me, oh dear diva. The diva in the terms of the high goddess of that particular era. So because she is being accused here of taking something from the temple, of which that thing belongs to the temple, then she's being accused of ukuthatha information that was there and wayisa ebantwini. And now she's trying to prove herself ukuthi I'm innocent. Hence the title of the opera, A Justified Innocence. So here she is praying to this goddess. That means isithixokazi sabo esithile. We know ezicaweni zethu ezinye zibanayo lanto ezithi sikhonza kubani banothile ubona basihlonipha umuntu othile. So during that era, the late Baroque and the early classical, that was very fashionable at that time. So it is very important, one, to understand what are you singing about. Generally, in all opera pieces, one needs to know the 5 W's. That is very important. What are you singing about? Who are you? Where are you? When did whatever that you are talking about happened? And then why? Then once you know those 5 W's, you will be able to interpret the song in context. Remember, when you are on stage as a performer, what is important is that you are there to deliver the message to the listener. The composer gives you the message and say, go and deliver this message to the listener. So you are the messenger. You need to know what you are saying so that you can be able to deliver that message in context. Now, what is it that we need to know? When you are on stage generally, even if ever conductor or conductor the bigger choir, you need to know there are 3 important aspects that you need to understand. 1, the sound aspect. 2, technical aspect. And the 3rd one is the musicality aspect. So when we talk of the sound, we're talking about the voice, of course, the instrument that we have, and which is fragile at times. That is why we always say we need to take care of it. It's unlike the guitar or the drums or the pianos, which piano sometimes but the voice, when it's gone, it's gone. So you need to know. Why am I saying this? It's because it's very important, conductors, to know the voice that must sing a certain aria. Each aria with opera is prescribed for a certain type of a voice. It might be saltro che lacrime or soprano, which is prescribed for sopranos, and that soprano unayo ekwayeni ufumanisa ukuba ngaba is not suitable for this to sing this song. So that is why kwi-opera kuye kusetyenziswe a system to classify the voices, which we normally call it a German Fach system, which was a system esetyenziswa to classify the voices. The big opera houses were using that system so that bazokwazi ukuqasha abantu to sing in their operas. Now, you may find out that Nabu soprano, but in a soprano we have about so many sopranos: lyric sopranos, spinto sopranos, soprano soubré, dramatic soprano, coloratura, you name them. But what type of a soprano that is expected to sing the prescribed song for the CoSACSA 2021? The soprano that is expected here is a soprano soubré. What is a soprano soubré? A soprano soubré is that voice which is thin, ekwazi ukucula notes eziphezulu kude kuthiwe iyatswina at times. That is why towards the end of this song, Mozart would take the song up to the top A, and that top A you find out the dynamic is not forte, that means it's not very loud or it's not loud. It's soft and you need to apply a crescendo there. So we expect the beauty in the voice. I always say when I teach my students, which I think, colleagues, it's also relevant even nalapha kuthi, the higher you sing, the sweeter the voice for a soprano soubré, which also apply with mezzo soprano, which is a lyric mezzo soprano. When I'm saying a lyric mezzo soprano, it's a light soprano with a sweet and crispy voice. So now, when we categorize the lyric voices, we always say they are comfortable on high notes, but they are not comfortable with low range. So that is how you measure them. Now, what is happening with soprano? Now, who is singing here? It's Servilia. Servilia is singing, talking to Vitellia, who is crying for Isono Asenzile. Remember, it is taken from the opera La Clemenza di Tito. And Titus was the emperor of Rome then, but there were guys as decided to kumbukuqa. And Vitellia was one of abantu who tried to orchestrate ukuthi kubhukuqwe Titus. And now the boyfriend, or let me rather use the word fiancé, Vitellia, which is Sesto this time, was the one always in charge. Now she is crying because elo qhinga lifunyenwe, and uyayazi ukuba ngaba ifiancé yakhe is gonna be executed. Now she's crying, but now Servilia akayazi ukuba ngaba uVitellia ulile landon. So what she is saying here, when she's saying saltro che lacrime, it's useless for you to cry. But what you need to do, you just need to go and tell this person. Even if you can talk to him, but at the end of the day, he's going to die anyway. So what's the point of you ukuthi ulile? Better uskuthule xa kuphela. Now when we move to the tenor solo, which is taken from the tenor and the baritone, they are composed by one composer, but from different operas, Gaetano Donizetti. Gaetano Donizetti, when I talk about Gaetano Donizetti, I always think of the bel canto, because he was the chief, or let me rather use the word, the king who initiated the bel canto. There were three giants of the bel canto opera. That is Vincenzo Bellini, Gaetano Donizetti, and Gioacchino Rossini. Those three composers, they mastered the art of bel canto. What is the term bel canto means? The term bel canto means beautiful. Bel from belle or bellissima, which means beautiful. Canto means singing. So what is expected there is the beauty of singing. And the drama is less. We don't want to see, colleagues, abantu abazawufike benze into too much there. But what is important is the voice. Now, we are talking about Nemorino here in the tenor. Nemorino from Elisir d'Amore is the first cavatina, or the first aria, if you want to say so. Now, after the intro of a chorus bel colforta, but now we get to the cavatina. Now, what is he saying here? Nemorino is a poor guy from Eslaleni who can't read, who didn't go to school, who is not rich, doesn't have money. But, of course, uphandlwa by this lady. Any lady can read, esaleje, studia. He is educated. And she's rich, rather, she's educated, and she's rich, unemali. But who am I? I'm just a stupid boy from Ezlalini who can't read, who can't write, and who doesn't have money. But funny enough, I'm so in love with this person. How can I approach this lady? That lady now is Adina. But interesting enough, for your own information, at the end of the day, at the end of the opera, Unemorino, what happens to him? Uncle wake, who's very rich, uyasweleka, xa esweleka kanti ushiye bonke ubutyebi kuNemorino. And uNemorino, the same lady ebelimhleka during the opera, limthuka lisithi he's a buffon, that means a stupid, a stang, a stinted, but uenda apha ngoku elilela bani na efuna uNemorino. Hence, uzawuva, you know most the aria, the second aria kaNemorino. Una furtiva lacrima, one furtive tear I can see from her eyes, ukuthi ulile lamna. But in this one, quando è bella, quando è cara. Wow, how beautiful is she? How so dear is she? How I wish I can have her. How I wish she can be my girlfriend. But essa legge, studia, impar. She can read and she is well educated. But I'm just a stupid here with nothing to offer. Now, when you come to the baritone, that's what Unemorino is painting there, and that's what Donizetti is basically painting in that music. So we need beauty. Towards the end, we need to note these things, dear colleagues, both these areas, the baritone and the tenor. What is important is that quick bel canto, the composers at the end, they would allow the singer to show off the beauty of his voice. Hence, you will find lendo city sibiza cadenza. Sometimes it's not written in the score. And sometimes some editions you'll find out kutubas baleli. So it depends on the artist. Ndifuna ukuthi when enye is soloist ifika ithi pa non son capace lievia fedori omnye afike enze something else which is in the score. Ungathi ubethisiwe wena omnye ucule into erongo. You need to know ukuthi stylistically that soloist yenze icadenza is correct. But even nalo akekho wrong naye correct. However, the overall performance is what is key, and the understanding, the interpretation of the piece, and of course the singing, the beauty, because we're dealing with music here. My lecturer used to say, my director, if you are good with drama, you need to go to drama school. If you are good in singing, you need to focus on oratorios. So when we deal with opera, you need to have both. That means you need to be good in singing, you need to be good in acting. That means ukupi character. With the baritone, very interesting one, Bella siccome un angelo, beautiful as an angel. She is so beautiful as an angel. This one is performed by Umalatesta, and he is singing to Don Pasquale. Don Pasquale, an old guy in the community, okudala efuna umfazi but akadamfumane. He's got everything, he's very rich, but akafumane umfazi. So he asked his friend to say, man, can you please look for someone who's going to take care of my wealth when I'm gone? But now, interesting enough, this one is taking Unorena, who is the girlfriend of Umchana Don Pasquale. But now, what is important is that Umalatesta is just painting the picture of this wife. She's so beautiful, she has a good heart, she can do everything for you. So we need baritones. Though it's comic, but the aria as needing though is our comic that much in terms of acting. You just need to paint the picture. She's like that, she's like that, she's like that. You need to expect this. So you are talking to Don Pasquale in this case. So ladies and gentlemen, I think it's very important as the 5Ws, I think it's yaphuma apa. Who part of both them, of four of them? One, it's Servilia. Two, the mezzo, Claudio. Three, the tenor, it's Nemorino. the baritone is Malatesta. So that is very important. And I think I explained what is expected from them. With the small ensemble, I'll take the two, the duet and the trio, which is the duet. It's what we call a barcalore. A barcalore is that beautiful music which is mostly written in 6/8 time. Now, that song, Belle Nuit, Belle Nuit, which is Beautiful Night, it is known as the piece which was performed in the opera, that means the Tales of Hoffmann. I forgot the name of this composer, but I know him. So it's from the Tales of Hoffmann. Now, what he is doing, this chap there, is setting here, it's in the New Year's Eve, hence the title Belle Nuit. And then remember, the title Hoffmann is being sung by the tenor. The tenor who fell in love with a certain girl. Now, he feels good. Now, it's the New Year's Eve, therefore I'll be with my new girlfriend. But akayazi ukuthi ubethwa ngestina by this girlfriend. That means uyamshaya shaya. What is key? It's being performed by two friends. That means the soprano and the mezzo. The compatibility of voices is very key when it comes to that point. That is why the adjudicators will talk to you about the blending of the voices. Remember, these are friends. So now whatever that they are thinking, into A1. And now when they perform this piece, we need crispiness, we need beauty. Even from the intro, you get the rolling chords. If ever we were to use the orchestra, you get what we call the harp. Those strings are those of the harp. That means you don't get from the violins and stuff. As those fumana part towards the end or in the middle of the piece, but it's in the rolled chords qui piano. That means gentleness. That's what is needed. You will not find an F or a forte because it's in the night, remember. Now when we get to the trio, which is taken from Magic Flute, the Zauberflöte by Mozart nayo. It was his second last opera, Mozart. It is at the beginning of the opera after Utamino the prince attacked by the serpent. And then of course, well, directors, they give different versions. One would come and say he was dreaming. One would come and say he was literally attacked by the serpent. By these three ladies, they came to save this guy. They don't know him, but they've got a message for him, though bengamaz. Now these three ladies, zizazuzom savers figures attack this serpent and they kill it. So what is important is that you need to know, Ogote, in this opera, who these ladies are. They don't have names, but they are known as First Lady, Second Lady, and Third Lady. Now, and as ladies, they serve under a Queen of the Night. I think once did the Queen of the Night, you know what I'm talking about. With everything that she does, it's in the night. So hence we opera iyonke ethathwa njengomntu ongcolileyo. That's why intombi yakhe uPamina was taken by uSarastro, because uSarastro felt ukuthi le ntombi in a good heart, therefore makayithathe away from umama wakhe, angamnikezi ubuthi. Siyayazi mos ezilalini uba ngaba sinalantu uba ubumama wami uyatsiba, therefore uzawuthatha ubuthi abudlulise entombini yakhe. So now these three ladies as a saver lo mfana, xa zimjonga lo mfana, no man, she's cute. Then ziphikisana ke ngokuthi hambani nina ndizawushiyeka ndimgade, nomnye athi hambani ndizawushiyeka ndimgade, nomnye athi hence uzofumana indawo ish weiche ish. So ngulona lo uyaphikisana uba izoba ndim ne ish soltef. Hence you find those kind of interplays in that music that you get there. It's because bayaphikisana. Abaphikisani kuba bexabana, but because ngulo uzifunela kulo mfana ambona ukuthi uba bemkile aba ndizawushiyeka naye yedwa. But at the end of the day, they decide, good, let's just all go. Let's go together. Simshiye apha yedwa, because at least simsavile uzawuvuka kufuneka angasibona uba sithi esimsavileyo. That is very important. Now, we are going to deal with the German, but each German language le ibhalwe phaya, andizuyi kuyipronounsa ngokwamagama but ndiza kunibhalela nizawuthola kwezi notes khona ii-notes endizenzileyo ezibonakalisa uba how to pronounce the German that is that the trio is written. Now, colleagues, it is very important to understand as conductors ukuba the African piece which I want to deal with in Ndebendala, when we were dealing with the prescription, we had a conversation with the structure, one of the members of the structure. Then we felt ukuthi we just lost one of our own, which is Mr. Mahlangeni, Ubele. Then we felt in terms of honoring him, let's take one of his songs. We tried to look for Bula Sangoma, but Asamfumana, because in Ngoma, we didn't want to bother the family, but we then thought, no, let's take in Ndebendala, because it was also one of his songs. I was Bala by the time Esakala. He says, the only thing I'm through papaya, he was on his way to East London ezofuna incwadi ngicela uba ndiyithethe ngesixhosa le because ube ngumuntu obezingca ngoba uyena ngesintu sakhe. So uthi esendleleni xa ecrossa inciba for the first time, it was 1995, he said, for the first time ebona umuntu ongisisi enxiba tight kwayena eqala ubona lento ngitight. So he felt ukuthi no man, something went wrong kwi-culture yethu and yabe ngumuntu omnyama lo. Hence yam influencer lento uba makabhale le ngoma ithi Ndebendala. And by the time eseteksini kwakudlala ingoma katata uStompi Mavi eyayithetha ngamasiko ethu, then the lyrics influenced this song by lyrics zikatata uStompi Mavi influenced him ukucompose le ngoma. There and then melody yaphuma. Ut on his own zanga igqiba ijeni yakhe to East London wema endleleni, then he decided ukuthi ut wahlala phansi wabhala ingoma iNdebendala. Xa usiva kuthethwa ngabafazi babewunduza omame amaxhego esenza le, he was trying to paint the picture of iculture yethu, how beautiful it is ukubamba isidima. As I was saying, colleagues, I think it's very important to understand the background of the song. Some of the conductors, they tend to get bored when you give the background of the song. Because let me tell you, music, there's a difference between music and a song. I know I might be confusing you. A song is that piece of paper with the do, re, mi, fa, sol. But music is what you do with that piece of paper. Because we need to get what the composer meant to deliver to the audience. Remember, the composer xa ebethanda ebenoya ayise ngokwakhe, but he trusted you as a musician. So that is why it's very important to know ukuthi what was the song about, so that is an interpreter in context. I like to do this, to say this. I once heard kumhlobo wenene when they were making jokes kwi-BEE. But there was this guy eyathi ibhaso liyeza, enye yathi ibhaso liyeza. When you look at the word, zibhalwa ngokufanayo, but the way you say them, it depends on the context. Some conductors will go on stage and say ibhaso liyeza, and is supposed to say ibhaso liyeza, because you did not understand the context of the song. That is why, let me give you this hint. If you go to the book of Judges in the Old Testament in the Bible, and read from chapter 11 and 12, then you will get the gist of the Western piece here too, when his loud voice in thunder spoke. What Handel was saying there, what happened to the Israelites when they were singing that song, because they had trust kuThixo. That's why they were saying, ilizwi lakhe lithethile. So they went there to that fight, to fight with the Ammonites, with into ethi uThixo unathe, hence the song. So it's very important to understand ukuthi isukaphi lento yale ngoma, imvelaphi yayo ingoma. Now you will understand ukuthi uTata uMahlangeni why kwakuthena zathi Ndebendala. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, we will go home and work with our choirs and make sure that we teach them music, not songs. The notes are there to guide us. But what we do with those notes becomes music. Hence on stage, we don't sing notes, we only sing lyrics. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
With technology and humanity, we can go further together. Vodacom.